Hello, welcome to Viscount Leisure. My name's Charles and I'm going to take you on a tutorial video around this SWIFT 580 that we've got here. We'll just see how everything connects to it from the outside, how everything connects on the inside, make sure that we know exactly what we're doing and how everything operates correctly. Alright, so we'll start with this van slightly differently because what we have on here is an EMP self-leveling system. Okay, so the caravan will level itself when you get to site to make sure it's sitting at the correct place. First bit of advice I would say is you want to have the front of your caravan as low as physically possible for this. Alright, the system does like the nose to be down in order to get itself sorted out properly. The way we work the system is via this remote control here. Okay, so here we go. First of all, what we have to do is turn the remote on. So we press this button here. There we go, you can see we've got to get a green light. And then we just go auto, which is the button down here. Okay, so we press auto. So the system will now do its bits. We've got a ram on each corner, and we have a ram also that comes down by each wheel as well. So you've got 6 points of contact on the ground with this. It's really good and works very well. If for any reason it does get a bit stuck because it doesn't like the level it's on, you can use the buttons independently, okay, to try and to level the van using the rams on their own. We also have a stop button here, so if for any reason you need to stop it, then it can do. But you can see there she is raising up. Getting herself into position, and she'll do everything that you need to do. In this caravan as well, the previous owner also made up some very nice blocks here as well, so if you need to block it up at all, you can do. Alright, so there's a few of those all handled up in here as well, all been very nicely done, so we have left those in there, alright, because they can be quite useful, especially on grass or something like that. Underneath the rams, you can see you've got one on this corner, we've got one coming down underneath there, alright, so if we do need to put blocks underneath, we can. These do have quite big feet that come down at the back. Alright, so we'll just let her sort herself out. It's amazing what level actually looks like. There we go, that's all of our legs down and she's nice and level. Alright, so there we go, that's our leveling system. Again, to take it off, we'll have a look at that at the end of the video. So I'm going to turn that remote off for the moment, just leave it in the doorway there for you, okay? We'll now look at our door here. Alright, so that is held back on a magnet here, and that will hold the door back and stop it flapping around in the wind. Okay, when we're inside the caravan and we want to lock, we just lift the handle up into the locking position there to unlock into the middle, and then we use the handle in the normal way. Our bin is also here, alright, on the doorway, so it's not in our way inside the caravan. And we have a pane glass window here. Of course, we can black out with the blind. Alright, so there we go. We've also got another locking mechanism here, alright, so we do have 2 sets of keys with the caravan, alright. The main key here does our lock, okay, and then we have another Malenko one here, which is this silver key, this one there, okay, and then we can put our lock in over that, we'll cover the door lock here as well, and that's a nice little bit of extra security, alright, on the van. There we go. Okay, underneath here we've got a cover here. Underneath here we have an external domestic plug socket, okay, 240-volt socket, so we can power things up in our awning if we wish to, heaters, lights, whatever we want to do. Okay, just bear in mind, of course, this is just a domestic 3-pin socket, so if you're not plugged into mains via your mains hookup cable, this won't be active, so just bear that in mind. Moving along, we've got a locker here that comes in underneath our front seats. Okay, just gives us a bit of space to put things in and out of the van without having to drag it through the van, so a nice bit of access to the storage area underneath there. Alright, we'll lock that as we go around. External gas barbecue point here. Alright, we have the bayonet fitting, this little brass fitting that fits in there like so. This is what you would attach to the end of the barbecue hose coming straight from your barbecue with a dew belly clip, and that's then there ready when you bring it out, just quite simply to push into here Okay, turn the tap on, and that will allow the gas flow to come through to your barbecue. All right, when we're finished, we have a little bayonet collar that we push up, and that will pop out. All right, so always leave that attached to the barbecue, and then when you're ready, all you have to do is plug it in and turn the tap off, and you're ready to go. I'll put this in your red book pack inside the van just so you don't lose it for the moment. All right, so you know exactly where that is. All right. Okay, we've got our front gas locker here. Okay, we've had a look in here already because we've seen we've got our blocks here. All right, we've also got some waste hose, and also our hitch cover is in here as well. But we also have our auto gas gas bottles. All right, so these are basically propane bottles that are constantly fixed into place. Okay, and we have a fill point on the side of the caravan just here. Okay, there we go. So you can take it to a petrol station that sells LPG, and you can fill your tanks up from there. Much cheaper than using Caligas. Okay, and also really good on the continent as well, where you can't get Caligas either. Okay. But still, as we are travelling with these vans, we must make sure that we are turning off our gas bottles when we're travelling. We have these little yellow screw valves on the top, so we screw those down to close the valve and open them to allow the gas to flow. All right, and we also have indicators on here as well, okay, that tell us if we're full or empty. So this one here is full, and as you can see, this one here is empty. All right, that gas locker will close, okay, with the handle there, and we use our key to lock that. You can see we've got an LPG sticker on the front here, so that depicts that is our gas locker. So we mustn't travel with gas anywhere else in the van, just only where we have an LPG sticker. We'll talk about our hitch very quickly. All right, we have our jockey wheel here that we can raise up and down. That will lower the van down onto our car tow hitch. All right, and also raise it up as well, of course. So that is that. We've also got a handbrake, of course. That's this one here. You can see it's in the upright position at the moment, so the handbrake is on. And to take it off, we just push the handle down, all right, and that puts the handbrake off. So there's no buttons to press, just clearly pull it up, and that is locked in. From an electric point of view, we have a 13-pin electric socket here, which powers our lights and 12-volt system in the car. So when we're having a tow bar fitted, or if you do have a tow bar already, you need to make sure you're compatible with 13-pin electrics. Okay, even that, whether that's a new tow bar you're having put on, or if you've only got 7 pins, to have the right adapter in order to use the 13-pin socket there. You've also got our Alco hitch lock on the van here as well, okay, and we have an Alco hitch head stabilizer. That hitch head stabilizer has friction pads in it, which pushes against our tow ball, stops the caravan twitching and getting out of check. So what we do need to make sure is that our tow ball is an Alco compatible one. It's slightly different spacing from the car, same size tow ball as any other, but it's just set slightly further back with a raised neck, just to incorporate the large hitch head. Okay, so you need to make sure you're compatible with that. If you've got any questions about that, please do ask us. If not, and you're having a brand new tow bar fitted, ask for one of those. And also we need to make sure we're sanding off the black paint on the tow ball if there is any. All right, so we have a nice bare metal surface on the tow ball. The reason for that is the hitches, the pads in here, like a nice rough surface. They don't want a smooth surface in order to make sure they're operating correctly. That being said, also if you already have a tow ball and you grease that tow ball up with your current trailer, we must make sure that we are cleaning that grease off of that tow ball with a brake cleaner or something like that, to make sure that it works properly. Again, if we get grease inside this hitch head here, it's going to basically make this null and void and not work at all. So we must make sure we're cleaning that off completely before we attach this caravan to our car. Right, we've also got Alco ATC as well, as you can see here, which is Alco trailer control. So that's an independent braking system, electronic system for the wheels. All right, so your belts and braces with that, and your hitch head stabilizer in terms of safety when we're towing. We've talked about where our gas goes in, so that's on the side there. Just make sure that when we this is obviously loose, so that we don't want to be losing that. Okay, so make sure that is in nice and firm before we travel. We've got an external boiler flue here. We've got an LD boiler system on this van. Okay, what that does is obviously heats our water, and also heats up our radiator system in the van as well. It's a wet central heating system. It will work on gas, it will also work on 240-volt power. The reason we have the flue there is so that when we're burning on gas, obviously we're going to have to expel the fumes from that, very much like your boiler at home, but that's what it is. All right, nothing you need to do with it, but just so that you're aware. We're obviously going to want fresh water into the van. So you can see here we've got our test aqua roll down here. Okay, so you'll need one of those to operate your van correctly if you're on a non-service pitch. So you will take your aqua roll, fill it up with water, bring it back to the van. Then from your front locker, you'll pull out your pickup here. Okay, so that picks up the water from the barrel into the side of the van. So we just plug that into the side of the van, and then we drop that into the barrel. Then we're ready to start turning on our pumps and things like that. We also have an external shower point here. You can see that down there. So once we've got our pump working inside, we can plug that into the side of the caravan, and we have an outdoor shower for washing our boots or our dogs off or whatever we want to do. But nice, useful little feature there. You'll find this also in your front locker along with your water pump. We also have here another socket. All right, that is for a ultra flow water intake. All right, so that's this one here. Okay, what that means is we can plug directly into a hose using a hose lock feature here. We have a pressure restrictor there, and that way we can work straight off of the mains into our van if we're on a serviced pitch, rather than having to keep topping up our aqua roll. We can go straight from the tap and straight into the van. All right, so you'll find all of these features in your all of these things in your front locker. Okay, so that is how that works. Right, moving on. From a power point of view, we have two different types of power this van works from. We have the 12 volt coming from our Leisure battery here. Okay, the Leisure battery will be staying with this van because we have a solar panel on there. We don't guarantee that battery, but it is there to keep a circuit because we can't have two live ends. The solar power is obviously producing a charge. All right, so that battery will stay on there. It has been tested and it has a good voltage, but we can't guarantee that battery. All right. We also then have the option of running the caravan on 240 volts. So you can see our test mains lead coming along there into the side of the van. Again, you'll need one of those mains lead to make your van work properly. If you do have access to 240 volt power, we plug it in there. That will allow us to use our domestic plug sockets, such as the one on the outside of the van. And it will also allow us to run our fridge, our heater, our hot water, so on and so forth, via the 240 volt power instead of relying on the gas to do so. So that is good. Our battery will operate the lights, the water pump, your fridge panel. Okay, so we have the best of both worlds. So we can be off grid or we can be on grid and plugged into our mains via that cable. With that cable, what you want to be making sure you're doing, if you're plugging it into your van, plug it into your van first and then plug it into your post. You don't want to be walking around with a live cable, so do it that way, and then the opposite way when we take it off. Also, make sure you're not leaving your mains cable in a nice coil on the floor if you've got excess of it, because that can get nice and hot and can end up damaging and melting the cable. All right, so flake it out, even if you do it underneath the van so it looks tidy. We don't want to see all cables all over the place, you can appreciate that. But if you leave it in just a one big tight circle, a lot of current is being drawn there and we can end up melting things. All right, so we don't want to do that. We also have a cutout in the door here, so we can shut our battery door locker and still have the lead coming out without damaging our lead. And we also have seals coming around all of our lockers as well. What I'll suggest is getting yourself some silicone spray. Again, they do sell that in the shop. And then periodically just going around and spraying up all the seals on the caravan on all your lockers, just to make sure we keep those rubbers supple and doing the job that they're supposed to do. Okay, the last thing we want them doing is drying out and cracking and then letting water in. Moving along, you can see here we've got two fridge vents. All right, so these, we have a three-way domestic fridge on board that works on gas, works on electric, and will work on a 12 volt system from your car as well when we're traveling. But it uses heat in order to cool, so it will pull the cold air in from the bottom and expel the hot air out of the top. I can feel that hot air coming out here. I say we've got this van run up and testing at the moment, so we know that everything's working correctly for you. We've got a motor mover in front of the wheel here. Okay, we'll have a look at that a little bit later on and how that operates. We saw the grey waste hose in the front locker, so this is where our grey water comes out of the van. Okay, so obviously fresh water is going in over there with our aqua roll, and then we want to expel our grey water, which will come out of our taps and our showers. Okay, that's going to come out of these holes here. That waste hose is designed to fit perfectly in the grooves here. Okay, you want to cut that down to the right size. You'll need an a waste master underneath here, which will collect your grey water. Once that's full, you then take that to your service point on site, of course, empty, bring it back, and we're ready to start the process over again. But that is where your grey water comes out of the van. Right, we've got two doors here. All right, these are to do with our toilet on board. All right, it's just sat behind the wall here in our end washroom. The reason we have two flaps, the first flap is for our flush. We have a separate flush tank, all right, for the toilet. That goes in here. The reason we have a separate flush tank is we don't want to be putting chemicals into our fresh water going into the van, and we do want to have some chemicals in our flush toilet, in our flush tank. We use a pink chemical in there. You will need that. That can be found in our shop, okay? We dilute that with water and we fill this tank up. What that pink chemical does, A, makes everything smell slightly more pleasant, B, also lubricates all of our pumps and everything inside the van as well, and keeps everything lubricated and running as it should do. You may want to make sure that you've got some sort of implement in order to fill this tank up. It can be a little bit awkward, all right? I suggest a little watering can or a 2 litre drinks bottle or something like that. Just makes it a little bit easier when we're filling up the tank here, all right? Once that's filled up, we just lock it away, shut that up, using the key which says Thetford on it, which is this one here, okay? And we lock that up until we need to do it again, all right? You'll know when you run out of toilet fluid because your flush will stop running, all right? Once you flush the toilet, of course, it's got to go somewhere, and that goes down here into our toilet cassette. All right, got our Thetford toilet cassette in here. That's collecting everything that comes down into our toilet and keeps it securely locked away in a good seal to stop the smells coming back inside the van. But of course it will fill up, and that will be indicated to us by an LED light inside the toilet, which I will show you, okay, telling us that it's full. We then need to take it to our service point on site to empty and then reprime and bring back to the van. So we just lift it out using the handle here, okay. There we go. That should come out. That needs to slide back in there. There we go. Right, once we pulled it out, you can see it is on wheels, and we have an extendable handle, so we don't have to carry it. We can wheel it to our service point. All right, and once we're at our service point, which will be a designated point on the site, we need to empty it. So we move this arm out to 90 degrees. We take the cap off the end. Okay, we then got this orange button down here, so we need to press that. That will release the air pressure inside the unit that's built up over time. Okay, we're then in a position to empty the contents out down the service point, okay, and flush the contents away. Bearing in mind, what we do need to do is make sure we're using caravan toilet paper rather than normal toilet paper. It will break down better and won't clog up our system, okay, so that's quite important as well. There's normally a hose pipe on at that point as well. I would suggest putting a bit more water back into the cassette, giving it a swish around, emptying that again, just to making sure we're getting everything out that we need to, okay, before we reprime the unit. We then need a different chemical to go in here. We use a pink chemical in the flush, but we use a blue chemical in the toilet cassette here. The reason we use that blue chemical, it's slightly stronger, and it breaks down all the contents inside it to make it nice and easy when we are emptying our cassette, and also helps contain the smell as well. So you'll need some of that. Again, you dilute that with a bit of water. The instructions will be on the bottle for that, so read those carefully. We do have the cap here also doubles up as a measuring cup, so we can make sure we're getting the right amount in there, okay. But you'll soon get the hang of it, and you'll soon just be doing it by eye probably, but it's good to know that we do have that option should we need to. Then we take it back to our caravan, we fold our handle back in, and then we slide this back in to the unit and lock it into place, all right, making sure that's not going anywhere. You do want to make sure that's in and correctly, so that when we obviously open the gate inside the van, it's going to go where it needs to go. Also, when we have finished our holiday, we do want to make sure we're emptying our toilet cassette and not leaving anything in there. The same with our toilet flush tank as well. We don't want to leave any liquids or anything in the van when we're not using it. A, because it can not smell nice. B, because if anything freezes, and it can damage pipes, pumps, etc, etc. So we do want to make sure we're leaving everything completely empty. We know how we empty our toilet cassette, but to drain our flush tank, we do have a little, if you see up here, a little black tube that we can pull down. There it is. We take the stopper out the end, drain all the fluid out of the flush tank, and we are ready to leave that to its devices. But yeah, we don't want to leave anything in the tank at all. Okay, coming around the back of the caravan, you can see we've got grab handles here for helping us maneuver the caravan if we need to. We also have a Thor bike rack on the back of the van here as well. Okay, that is attached to the back of the van here, and just pulls down via these clips here. All right, I think they're pretty strong in there as well. So, oh, I can see why that's not coming out. Someone has put that on there to hold it in place. So we just remove that from out there, and then this will just pull down, okay, and there we go. We've got a two bike rack which go on top of here. these clips here go through the wheels, okay, and then we have our arms that will come out, that will hold onto the crossbar of the bike and hold that into place. All right, and then to put it away, they just clip back up onto there. Okay, the previous owner obviously used to use this as an extra sort of hold on as well, so that's not a bad idea actually, to be fair. Okay, and just tighten that up, and that's just sort of belts and braces again for you. There we go. Bearing in mind, if we do have bikes on the back of the van, you do need to watch your weight a little bit in terms of making sure that we're balancing the things out. If you're adding weight to the back, you need to compensate that with weight at the front. Otherwise, weight at the back of the caravan can end up making you go into a bit of a tail swing. So make sure you're balancing that out properly, okay, with putting your awning maybe or something like that further forward in the van to make sure that you're nicely balanced. So you check your nose weight on your car basically. Down here, space for our number plates. Don't forget, you will need a number plate for the van, all right, to correspond with your tow car. So if you can make sure you have that handy, we're more than happy to fit it for you when you arrive, but you will need one of those. Okay, so coming around this side, right, we've also got access underneath our bed there as well, all right, so just another locker door that goes in, so we don't have to pull things in and out of our van if we don't want to. So you see down here, we've also got an Alco wheel lock. All right, so this is an excellent lock. Your insurance company will love this one. It is designed specifically for this alloy wheel. Okay, so it's got the right cutout for it, and it sits into the wheel like that. What you do need to do though, if you're using that lock, is you need to line it up properly. If you see here, we've got a little yellow cap under here. That is the cap for the receiver for the lock. All right, so if we open this box here, you will see we have this bolt here. All right, that bolt screws into that receiver through here. Okay, so that goes in there. Okay, you need to line it up so that is right in that yellow thing. Take the cap off, of course. It's right in the middle. All right, that goes into here, screws into the receiver, and then we have a little key here. All right, which will go into there. We then screw that in, and then we drop the lock in over the top of it. All right, and that is how that works. I will send you a separate video on how that works, and we can talk through it when you pick up. But it's really easy, all right. And there's some spare keys for it in there as well. All right. So I'll put that together in a minute. You also have your awning light, of course, over the top there as well. The switch for that is just inside the van. So let's go in and have a look inside the van. I've left that locked, so will help if we open it. Right, in we come. Okay, so now we're inside. What we need to do is we need to make sure we're ready to start receiving water into the van. So first things we're going to do is we're going to go to our taps and we're going to close them all, because last time you'd have left your van, you'd have left them open. The reason for that I'll explain a little bit later on, but we always leave our van with no water in it and with our taps open. So first things first, we want to go and we want to shut our taps. Because we've left no water in it, we'll have left our drain valves open as well. Now we've got two drain valves on this van. We have our boiler drain valve and we have our onboard tank drain valve. Now we know we've got our aquaroll outside, okay? From that aquaroll, we can fill up our internal tank as well from there, all right? So what we want to do is make sure all of our drain valves are shut. Now I've already got this van plumbed up, all right? So you can see these switches here. They need to be in the horizontal position, like this here and like that one there, all right? If you open them, all the water will start draining out of the van and out of our tank. And you can hear that there, okay? So we want to come in here and make sure both of these switches are horizontal. We then kind of want to talk about where our water is coming from, okay? So there is an exclamation here on how that all works, all right? So we've got an internal tank supply, okay? And we've got a external supply. So at the minute, we're set up for internal tank supply, okay? So the water coming from our taps will be coming from our tap, okay? So what we want to do is we want to fill up this tank with water. So the way we do that is we come to our panel, okay? We turn our panel on, okay? So by pressing the on button here, okay? We're going to turn on our pump, which is this button with the tap there, okay? We're then going to go, see we've got tank fill off at the minute. So what I'm going to do is go through to tank fill using this here, tank fill. I'm then going to press this arrow button here, which will then put tank fill on. What that will then do is allow the water from the Aquarol to pump through and fill up our internal tank. All right, once that's full, we need to turn that will turn off, and we're in a position then to start priming our boiler and our water tanks. We can avoid that internal tank completely by plugging our Aquarol into the other socket, the one that we said was the direct flow in. So if we were coming straight off of the tap, if you plug that into the one below that outside, we can bypass the internal tank, and we can just what we need to do is come and turn this one to here, all right, to the external supply, all right, and then we will be feeding straight off of the Aquarol outside, all right. But I'm on my internal tank at the moment, so I'm going to leave that pointed down. Hopefully that will make sense. If not, we can go through it with you, of course, when you pick your van up, so don't panic too much, all right. Now what we need to do is we need to start to fill up our boiler, all right. So it's just full of air at the moment, so we need to come to our tap, all right. I'm going to turn it over to the hot side, all right, and I'm going to turn my tap on. Now you can see I've got a steady flow of water going here. That's because I've already primed my system. But what you will find when you first do that is you'll get a lot of coughing and spluttering. It will pump air out, so we're going to pump all the air out of the boiler. It's going to come through all the pipes and it's going to come out of the taps. So a lot of coughing and spluttering, and we want to wait until we've got a nice steady flow of water like this. Once we've got that, we're going to turn that off. You're going to do that in here, and you're also going to do it in your bathroom, in your shower as well. That way we know all of the air is being replaced by water, okay? I'm then going to turn my tap over to the cold side, and I'm going to turn that on. And we're going to do exactly the same. Now this will do it much quicker because we haven't got a boiler to fill up. It's coming direct to tap, all right? So we'll turn that off, okay? But once we've got a full flow of water, again, do that in here, do it in the bathroom. We're then ready to start turning the boiler on and start heating up our water and turning on our heating as well. So just so I can show you outside again, we're plugged into the top one here, which is where so this will be feeding our internal tank, and this bottom one here will be feeding our just straight to tap. So it does tell you underneath here, look, so this goes direct to tank, this one goes direct to tap, all right. So if you want to bypass your tap, you don't want to use it, go straight into here and then just turn your pump on at the panel, and then you can do it that way. It basically gives you a second Aquarol on board. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to fill up your tank, go away, fill up your Aquarol, okay, and then plug it back in again. You can see that tank fill has turned off now. Now it's full to the brim, all right. So we've now purged our system, and we're ready to start heating everything up. So I'm going to come through to my Aldi panel here, all right. It's in standby at the moment, so I'm going to press menu, all right. Now the way this works is quite simple, really. The top level is the internal temperature we want the van to be, all right. So it's touchscreen, and I can change that by pressing plus or minus. My next one is my hot water. You can see we've got a picture of a shower there, okay. So this is my hot water. When the triangle is empty, that tells me that my hot water is off, all right. So I'm not heating hot water at all. If I want to turn my hot water on, I press the plus button, and you can see we filled up half the triangle. Now that is my water on, and it will heat the water up to about 60 degrees in our boiler. I also have an override system, so a boost setting, if you will. So if I press that again, you'll see we filled the triangle all the way up. That then is a boost setting. So what it will do is prioritize my hot water over my heating system. Okay, so if I am having a couple of back-to-back showers, or I want the water to heat up really quickly, I come in there, I put it on boost. That will then boost the hot water system for 15 minutes. Once the 15 minutes is up, it will drop back down and my heating will kick back in again, all right. So all it does is prioritize hot water over heating for 15 minutes. I then want to select what kind of heating I'm using, all right. So we know we can use gas, and we know we can use electric and to run the boiler, and we can use a combination of the both as well. So if I'm using electric with electric hookup, all right, and that's when I'm plugged into my mains with my mains cable, I'm going to use my electric probably most of the time to run my heating system. So I have the option of 1 kilowatt of power, 2 kilowatts of power, and 3 kilowatts of power, all right. Now the reason I have different levels of power is depending on what site I'm on. Different sites have access to different amounts of power depending on what's available to you on the site, all right. If you speak to your site warden or reception, they'll tell you what the best is to use, but you'll soon figure it out, because we do have trips on the van. I'll show you those in a bit. All right, so if you've got it on 3 kilowatts of power, you're using your kettle, your toaster, your hairdryer, and you keep tripping out your RCD or the bits and pieces on the van, you'll know that you're trying to draw too much current through the van and through the plug-in system. So you may want to come in here, turn that down to 2 kilowatts, and that will allow you then to use current elsewhere in the van. All right. If I'm not plugged into mains or I'm wild camping and I want to light my boiler on gas, I just press the gas button here, okay, and that will then light my boiler on gas, and I'm not using any electric at all to do so. But we do need to make sure, of course, that we have turned on our gas bottles in the gas locker. If it's really cold, I've got snow on the ground outside, I can run it on gas and electric. So I've got my gas on, as you can see, and if I turn, I can have 1 kilowatt, 2 or even 3 kilowatts of electric and my gas running together, and that will be the most efficient way of doing things. So if you want to heat everything up really quickly, that is one way of doing it. But I know here 2 kilowatts works really well. That'll keep the van nice and warm, keep my hot water warm. I don't need my gas on, so that's how I'm going to leave it. So top is my internal temperature. Next one is my hot water. Is it off? Is it on? Is it on boost? Am I using electric, and what kilowatt am I using? Am I using gas? You can go into the settings and start setting timers and priorities and things like that. Again, in your book pack there, you'll find there's an instruction manual. I'm not going to go into that now. All we want to know is basically how to use it. Okay, so that is how we use that. Talking about tripping and trip switches, our main brain for the van is here. Okay, so what we have here is a main shutdown button, so that will isolate and turn everything off. Okay, so if you're leaving the van for any kind of time, I would suggest turning it off there, or after every time you use it. But you must remember, obviously, you need to come and turn that back on before you can turn anything else on in the van. We've also got the isolation or the switches for our battery charger there, and for our heating and hot water here. So these do need to be illuminated in order to use our heating and hot water, and also for our battery to be charging at all when we're driving or when we're plugged in. We also need that to be illuminated as well, so make sure they are pressed in as well. We know from our battery we've got a 12-volt system. Okay, so we've got our 12-volt fuses are sitting here. They're just blade fuses like you would find in the car. Okay, so in your handbook you'll see what each one is, so there is a guide for that in there. So anyway, that is your 12-volt fuses. If you do need to change one, that's where you come to do so. On this side is our main RCDs. Okay, so this is where the power hits the van. Okay, so we have, again, in your handbooks you'll see one will be for the charger, one will be for the hot water boiler, things like that, and the other will be for your domestic sockets, I would have thought. But this one here with the blue switch and the yellow button is our main RCD. Okay, so this is where the power's first hitting the van. So you do need to make sure that all these trips are obviously up if you're using 240 volt. If you're struggling to get 240 volt into the van, we do need to have a look and test a couple of things. So that yellow button there is the test button with the T on it there. Okay, so if I press that test button and nothing happens, all right, this doesn't trip out. That tells me I don't have any 240 volt hitting my van. So the problem is probably going to lie with your post where you're plugged into. They also will have a trip on it as well. So it's worth going and checking that, or your power supply where it's coming into the van, because we don't have any anything coming into the van. If I press that and it trips out, we're quite happy that the power source is correct and we have power coming to the van. So if that drops out, we know we've got power, then of course we need to reset it. If we press the test button and nothing happens, that tells us that we've got no power coming to the van at all, so we need to have a look at the problem outside of the van. All right, right, so that is that bit there. Well, let's start having a quick look around the rest of the van. This panel here, of course, we know about our water pump. We've got that on. Okay, we've got our awning light outside, which is the top button. We then have the next button down, which is our uplighters. You can see that turning on and off there. And we can dim those lights as well. So you can tell me my dimmer level here, and by pressing that arrow here, all right, I can up the brightness of those lights. So I can go all the way out to 100%, and that will give us the most light possible. Of course, at night we might want to dim those down a little bit, but again, we just do that via pressing this button here. Okay, so I'm just going to turn those up so we can see what we're doing in here. The next one down is for all the other lights in the van. Okay, we can turn everything off with one button. You can see we've got those lovely down lights at the front of the van there, which look really nice. So at night we do look good in here. All right, so we can turn all of our lights off by using those two buttons there. Save going to find individual switches around the van. I've then got other bits and pieces. Tell me my internal temperature. Okay, my tank fill we know about already. and vehicle battery. When I'm plugged in, it will tell me all the bits and pieces I need to know. All right, so and our main on and off switch, of course, is there. But the main bits are lights, pump, okay, and how we change our dimmer levels and how we fill our tank up. It tells me up here the time. It tells me that we got the Leisure battery connected. It also tells me with this lightning bolt here that we are plugged into our main, so we have access to 240 volt power. We've got lots of other light switches around the van, okay, so we can individually turn everything on and off. All right, you can see they do the lounge ones, and we have one that does our cocktail cabinet here. All right, so lots of light switches, okay. TV bracket is here as well, okay. We've got a little cocktail cabinet up here, and we have a 240 volt sockets, we have a 12 volt socket, and we have a TV aerial point here as well. So this is where we can put a TV, all right. Moving around with this door, we saw the big lock that we've got on the outside here. We can operate that as a sort of a deadlock inside the van as well. So the way we can do that, this handle here basically operates the same as your key would, all right. So we lock it one way like so, all right, so that way nothing will work. But if we open it up so that the circle is around the screw, this then here is the handle. So if I do this from here and I turn that, you can see that then comes back down. Okay, I then turn my key and that will lock that into place. So I can lock the door from the outside as well when I'm inside the van. So double security whilst you're asleep at night. Then to open it in the morning, we need to turn the key, okay? And then we need to fold this away. Okay, and then lock that into place again. All right, so that's quite a nice little feature, but just so that you know how that operates. Carbon monoxide alarm is here, fire alarm is here, the test buttons are there. So we're happy they're working. I'm not sure what my eardrums are anymore, but that is definitely working. We'll have a look at our windows now. Okay, so we've got fly screens and we've got blinds. Okay, any window that opens will have a fly screen. All windows will have blinds so that we can black out the cabin at night. Of course, the door also has a fly screen as well. All right. The way this window works is we've got 4 lockable handles. Okay, all the windows open and close in the same way, so we can open the window to however we want, and then we have these screws at the top, so that's how we hold the window into position. One there, also one there as well. Okay, and that will hold the window in the position we want it to be. When we want to shut the window, we obviously slacken off the nuts. Okay, and then the window will close and then we lock it afterwards. We can lock it fully or we can lock it on a breather mode. So you can see we've got a gap in the middle there. So I can lock that, which will allow a small gap between the window and the van and allow some airflow through. If it was a hot day, you can imagine I'll open all my windows, but I can still keep the van secure and locked, but still keep that airflow going through. But I would recommend, if you're leaving the van for any kind of period of time, that we lock them fully. All right, individual reading lights here, okay, are all individually switched. Okay, there we go, and they're also dimmable as well by the wheel on the back of them here. Okay, there we go. Right, at the front of the van here, okay, we've got windows. They all work in the same way with our blinds and our fly screens, of course. We have a light switch here which does our front light, I believe, on our A-frame. We have our 12 volt sockets here, a USB, sorry, 12 volt socket. We also have a 12 volt cigarette style here as well, and 2 240 volt. Of course, they're only active when we are plugged into mains. That is that. Right, tables here. Okay, we do have a coffee table that will drop down into position. Okay, make sure you don't get your finger in the way. But yeah, so you've got a nice coffee table, and then to put that back up, we lift that up and that slides back away. We have our drawers here as well, all soft close, which is quite nice. All right, you'll find your book packs we'll put in the top drawer here for you, okay, so you'll know where they are. We have storage underneath here. We have our boiler just to the corner there as well. Okay, and there's our the receiver for the motor mover there as well. Okay, in the cupboard up above us here we have our radio. Okay, so that turns on and off by pressing the on button, which on this one is just at the top here, the source button. That will turn on our radio. But we also have an aux in. We have a USB socket there as well. Okay, so we have everything that we need to, and we also have digital radio on here, I believe, as well. If I just press this, what have we got? USB, aux, Bluetooth audio, so we can connect our phone to it as well and listen to phone music via our phone. So that's excellent as well. So basically, it works just like a car stereo, if you will, but we can Bluetooth to it or plug our phones in or whatever we want to do. To turn it off, hold the source button, and that will turn it all off for us there. Okay. Speakers are in the ceiling here, and funnily enough, there are actually speakers in the bathroom as well on this as well, which is slightly unusual, but there we go. Lots of storage. Again, this window here has a blind, no fly screen, of course, because we it doesn't open. Individual light switch for our overhead light here. We have another light switch here, which does our front handle lights. Not quite sure what you would call them, but there we go. To open these lockers, they have push buttons, and we have push buttons on these lockers here as well. All right. This, of course, turns into a double bed at the front. Really easy to use. We pull the slats out from here. Okay, there we go. What we then do is turn all of our cushions over, having the bolsters over the other side by the window. We sleep on the flat side underneath, and these back cushions then drop into the middle, and they create a bed, and we sleep from one side to the other. Okay, but with all of our cushions turned over and these bolster bits over by the window, so that we don't have a bump in the middle of the bed, basically. And then when we're ready to put our bed away, we put all of our cushions back, that slides away, and we are good to go. Right, moving on round, we're going to have a look at our kitchen now. Okay, we've looked at our tap already, so we know we've got hot and cold running water, all right, with a mixer tap here. This has been heated up for a while, so our water should be nice and hot. In fact, I can't even touch that, that's how hot that is, so that's definitely working properly. And again, we can mix that with some cold water for when we're doing our washing up and so on and so forth. We've got our special edition plaque up here, all right, so it looks quite nice. And what we've got, our kitchen light switches are here. Two 240-volt sockets for our toasters, kettles, that kind of thing, all right. And we have also in this cupboard our solar panel regulator, all right, so it's our charge controller for the solar panel on the roof, which is trickle charging our battery and helping maintain that. Bear in mind that solar panel, of course, will help maintain your battery. It won't charge it from being dead, but it will help maintain it, so it is a good little tool. All right, plate rack, cup racks are all in here. Microwave, all right, I'm not going to teach you how to use a microwave, all right, but what I will say is our microwave plate we should be removing every time we're traveling. All right, we don't want to be traveling around with that bouncing around in there, and the amount of times we've seen these come out, dent worktops, floors, smash on the floor, it's just not worth it. So take them out. I'm going to put this in your book pack just so that you know where to find it. Okay, it says easier said using one hand. There we go, in it goes. So yeah, when we're traveling, make sure we're not traveling around with those in there. We've got our three-way fridge here, okay, so here's our domestic fridge. Works on gas, as we've said, works on 240-volt electric when we're plugged into our mains, and we'll also run off of the alternator of the car on a 12-volt system as well, okay. So we'll go through the controls, on-off switches here, all right. You can see I'm illuminated on the plug socket here, which tells me that the fridge is running on the 240-volt power from our mains hookup, okay. We can change the temperature of the fridge here by pressing that thermometer, all right. We also have an alarm button there as well, so if something's not working properly, for instance, if I press this battery button, I'm not connected to a car at the minute, so if I try and tell it to pull the power from the car, it will tell me that that's not possible to do so, okay? So that will only work when you're plugged into your car. It's not powerful enough to chill your fridge down from warm. It will maintain the temperature in the fridge. It will not chill it down. So if you want to travel with stuff in your fridge, I would suggest running your fridge up on electric or gas first, chilling it down, then switching it over when you're ready to travel, okay? And that way, that will keep your fridge cold. If we're on mains hookup, or sorry, if we don't have access to mains hookup, we want to run the fridge on gas, we press the gas button twice, okay? That will then light the fridge. You'll hear it go click, 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 and then it will fire up, all right? If for any reason that doesn't work or it comes off, it will alarm over here so you'll know, all right? So if you run out of gas or anything like that, it will let you know, all right? But yeah, I'll change that back over to my electric, because that is what I'm running on at the moment. Inside the fridge, okay, we have a switch here. We can pull that out, and that will allow us to close our fridge but still leaving a gap. So when we're leaving our fridge for a while, it's kind of the breather setting, so it stops the fridge from smelling when we're not using it. And we also have a freezer up here as well, as you can see. All right, and we've had this on test to say we always put a little cup of water in to make sure it's working properly. That's nice clear water actually, but there we go, we've got a nice frozen cup of water there. So in fact I'll be able to show you how hot our water is here, because that will make light work of that ice. I can see that for nothing. So anyway, that's our freezer section at the top, and the rest of the fridge is there. To open and shut the fridge, it's just a little button on top, all right, otherwise it will lock in place for when we're traveling, okay, so that the stuff doesn't come flying out of our fridge when we are traveling. Right, there we go, that ice is gone now. So that shows you how hot that water is. It's nearly melted the plastic. We have a cutlery drawer here, okay, and we also have more storage here, again all soft close. We have our little pantry in here which slides out, but we also have our gas isolators in here as well. So if you need to isolate anything gas wise, come in here. This is probably for our fridge, I would imagine, here, and also for our oven and our cooker. Speaking of which, here it is, okay. When we're traveling, we must make sure that we keep our lid down. Again, these do rattle around when they're bouncing down the road, so we don't want to be smashing the top of this. So leave it down when we're traveling. It is quite a good one, this, because as you can see here, when it's down, it isolates our gas. Okay, when it's on, it will allow the gas to flow through. So we've got 3 gas burners, 1 electric. All right, the electric, bear in mind, you can only use when you're plugged into mains, as we keep saying, but it is a 240-volt powered cooker there. All right, but it is good. If we pay for electric, why use our gas up when we can use the electric we've already paid for? Okay, we turn this on, the electric one on, okay, by using this dial here, and there is a light that illuminates here to tell us that that is on. All right, so we go 1 through to 6 on that, obviously always making sure we're turning it off when we're finished. We have our igniter button here, which will, as you can hear, all right, so this lights like you would expect it to. So to light the hob, hold it down, turn it on, press the button, there we go. All right, that's now lit that up. It's always a good idea when you first turn your gas on to come and light one of your hobs, all right, just to get all the air out of the system. It will help if you're trying to run anything else on gas in the van, just again a bit like the water system, like purging it, okay. But that's how that works, all right. So there we go, we're quite happy with that. We've also got a separate oven and grill, okay. So our grill, you can tell which one is the grill, but that's highlighted up here. All right, so that's the one with the shaded top. Again, the way we light that is hold that down, press the lighter button. There we go. And our oven as well. Now, this is done in gas marks, but the previous owner has obviously worked out what the degree C temperature is, so that's quite useful, to be fair. All right. So I turn this on. I can hold that down and that will light actually without pressing the lighter button. So I just hold it down and that works the lighter as well. So that is my oven lit, okay, and then I can change what temperature I want it to be. I can turn the light on in the oven, okay, by pressing this button here. All right. So that is good. Anyway, always remembering to turn all of our gas things off when we're finished using it and to shut our lid. All right. Underneath here we've got pan storage, as you can see. You've also got a plug socket in there. That's the plug for your electric hob here, okay. Right, kitchen wise I think that's it. That's how everything operates there. We do have an extractor fan. Well, it's kind of a two-way fan really, I suppose. So we've got an on button there, all right, and that will turn it on. So we can either suck air out of the van or push air into the van, and we can change the speed of that by pressing the button. As you can see, we get more light as we go up. All right, and we have this handle here, so if we turn that, what that will do is open up the dome on top, okay, to allow more air in or out as we want to. And then we turn that off by pressing this middle button here. Not forgetting, of course, that we must remember to shut the dome on top afterwards. Otherwise, if you get a sudden bit of rain or something like that, you're going to end up with a nice little puddle on the floor, so we don't want that. We've also got another skylight here, okay. The way that operates is with this button here. You pull down, pull back, and that opens the skylight. You can also, you've got some sort of ratchet points, I suppose. All right, so we don't have to open it all the way if we don't want to. Of course, making sure before we travel, we're coming and shutting all of our skylights. The amount of times you see them driving down the road, all of their skylights open is ridiculous. Fly screen, blind on all of our skylights as well. We've got the same on this one as well. It has a blind, okay, that comes across so that we can black out the cabin at night. Going into our bedroom, of course, we've already looked under the bed because we've had a look where our consumer unit is, and also our carpets are underneath there as well. So I'm just going to shut that down here. Okay. We have a concertina door that will come across and go onto there, just so that we can separate the bedroom and the living area. Into our tank here, into our cupboard here, we have our table. All right, that's our freestanding table that will go in the dining room. Of course, you can use it outside or wherever you want to, but that's what it's designed for. Behind it here, you can see a tank with Aldi written on it. That is our Aldi header tank. All right, it's a wet central heating system. So this is the antifreeze concoction that goes around all the radiators. Also in here, you've got a draining board and a chopping board to go over your sink. And you've got your hanging rail here as well. Now, this is our TV aerial. Okay, so we have a directional status TV aerial in the van. Okay, it's in the raised position at the moment. Okay, so when you want to use it, you want to raise it up and above the van. The way you would do that is this has a locking nut on it, which we up down, and we can push this up and down like so. All right, obviously remembering when we're traveling, we want to have this all the way down. When the aerial's up, we do have this handle at the bottom, so we can turn that around. That will change the plane of the aerial to try and get a better signal. That then signal comes through to our Vision Plus digital TV amplifier here, okay, with an on-off switch on the top. I'd suggest just leaving that on, leaving the gain on maximum. That will turn off and off with our mains power on the main panel. All right, so I wouldn't worry too much about fiddling with that. The bed, okay, has kind of two modes. It's in day mode at the moment, and that's why we have this bit at the back. That gives us a little bit better access around during the day. But when it comes to bedtime, all we do is pull this out, okay, and we drop that in, and that gives us our full size double bed. Okay, as you can see, it's a slightly smaller gap. It's still movable, but it just gives us a little bit more room during the day. As you can see, individual reading lights for each side of the main bed. That just slides back into place there. I'll just put that back so it looks a little bit neater. Again, nice comfy duvet mattress, doing everything it needs to do there. Okay, we've got a TV bracket here, another TV socket, 12 volt and two 240 volt plugs there as well. We also have the light here, which does our courtesy lights on the floor. All right, so if we just need a little bit of light to find our way to the bathroom at night. And then we also have the main light here, which will turn off the main lights above us there. Okay. Right, you can see one of our radiators going across the side here as well. All right, so that's what that is. Lots of storage. Okay. So we've got another skylight over the top, works the same way as the other one. All right, and we have wardrobes either side as well. Going into our toilet, which has a sliding door to it, held in position by this bolt here. All right, so that will shut. What I will say is to make sure that when we are traveling that we have this door open and also locked into position. All right, that way, when we're bouncing down the road, this isn't going from side to side, breaking the door and the fittings and fixtures again. So make sure that is held back in place when you are traveling. Right, going into your bathroom. Decent sized bathroom, decent sized shower. The shower door is held in position. Again, while we're traveling, we have a thing here that we pull out. That will then allow the door free movement to shut and close. All right. So pull it in, push it all the way, and then that will hold it into place. We have a hanging drying rail here, okay, for towels, things like that. And we have our shower head here, which is a water saving shower head, and also with our mixer tap there. Won't teach you how to use a shower. Light switch for the bathroom, okay, is here. So we have a separate one for the shower, and then the back lights here for the mirror and up there. All right. Another skylight here, all right, with a fly screen. All right, it doesn't have a blind because it doesn't need to. And then to open this one here, we just press the spring bits, and we can push that up and open it on both sides. Okay, or we could just open it going whichever way we want. All right, it'll go 4 different ways depending on which way the wind's going, really. Right, bathroom tap we know about. Okay, we know how to work a tap, but again, mix the tap there, hot and cold water. Again, here's your speakers underneath here. Slightly strange to have speakers in your bathroom, but there we go. And we also have our heated towel rail there. Now, here's our toilet. All right, so we looked at that earlier from the outside. So in the top here is our flush tank, and underneath it in here is our toilet cassette. All right, so we'll use the toilet in a normal way. Don't worry, it's all been cleaned in here. So you use the toilet, okay? When you're finished, you have a flush button, which is the blue button here. Let's see if I press that there, then that puts our pink fluid through. All right, once you've finished and you have as much fluid in there as you want, we open the gate by pressing the button in underneath here. All right, that then opens the gate, everything drops down into the cassette. We then close the gate. That then keeps all the smells and everything out the way and does what it needs to do. All right, but we do need to make sure we're keeping that fully shut. What we also have here as well is our indicator, so a little picture of a cassette. If that's illuminated, that means we need to empty our cassette. Don't ignore it, otherwise we'll end up with a right mess in the cupboard where our cassette is kept. Right, that's kind of it for the inside of the van, but what we'll now do, we've been on holiday, we've had a nice time, let's shut the van down, drain everything off so we know what we're doing there. Then we can have a quick look at our motor mover and we are ready to wrap up really. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come and I'm going to turn off my main panel here, all right? Power off. I'm also going to turn off my Aldi panel as well. There we go. I'm also going to turn my fridge off. You may not do that because you might be using your car to keep your milk cold on your journey home, all right? But I am going to do so. I'm then going to come and start draining the water out of my van. So if we come down here, what we want to do is to drain the system. We need to make sure, as it says here, drain system, that this one here is horizontal, okay? And then we open these two drain valves. So you can see there, it tells you open both drain valves and to put that horizontal. But it also tells you internal supply, okay, we need those shut. So it's good instructions here, okay? But then I'm going to open both my drain valves. All right, that should start. We'll have a look and make sure that's working from the outside, but I can hear that from here. I'm then going to go and open all of my taps. All right, so as I said, you'll always find your van with your drain valves open and your taps open as well. All right, that way, if we ever get any frost or any freezing weather, the water has somewhere to go if it's anything left in the system. So that will allow the air to flow through the system and we won't be able to damage anything. Because if we had some freezing water, that can crack taps, it can ruin push fit fittings, it can, and then the next time you put your water on, you end up with a puddle or inside your van. That's not what we want. All right. Okay, now we've done that, we're going to start detaching everything from the outside. Okay, so first things first, we're going to come and detach our aqua roll from the outside. All right, empty your aqua roll, pull your pump out using the trigger here, take it out of your barrel, give it a good old shake off. Okay, we're then going to open up our front locker here, and that's where we're going to put it. It's just in the corner here. You then empty your waste master. You would bring your everything back and just stow it where you're going to keep it. So here's my you can see we've got a bit of a river coming underneath the van there, so you can see where everything's draining underneath the van. Just going to put everything away into here so that you know where to find it when it comes to using it. I'm then of course going to turn off my gas bottles as well, all right, because I'm going to be traveling, so I want those closed. Making sure we're doing both of them, of course. Okie dokie, just going to shut this down now. Right, so we've detached everything. My colleague's just given me the nod, yeah, to say that he's unplugged the van from our power source. That way I can now unplug it from my van. Okay, that way I'm not walking around with a live cable. I'm then going to get rid of my mains cable. I'm going to put that into my front locker or wherever I choose to keep it. All right, so I was going to move this out of the way for the minute. Come back to that. I need to get the key. Right, now what we're going to do is we need to take its van off of its levels. Okay, so we're going to come and find our remote control for the auto leveling system. I'm going to turn that on and I'm going to press the button here with the up arrow. That is putting everything away and that will drop us down, ready to have a look at how our motor mover works. While that's doing that, just going to grab my keys and lock our cupboard here. Okie dokie. Right, you can see that now dropping down. Okay, and we're then ready to have a look at our motor mover and how that works. But while it's doing that, I'm going to make sure that all my lockers are locked, all my flaps are shut, so I'm ready for the road. Everything's looking okay. Good. Okie dokie. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wind this up on the jockey wheel a bit, because I'm going to need to be able to get this onto my car. Okay, now let's have a look at how our motor mover works. So, we need three things for our motor mover. We need an isolation key, we need a remote control, and we need our engaging tool. The first thing we're going to use is our engaging tool, which is this telescopic thing here. Just going to shut the door for a minute. Now what we want to do is push the rollers onto the wheel. So, I'm going to put this down here like so. Okay, push, keeping your fingers out of the way, nice and flat palms, until we hear a nice clunk. And then we've engaged the wheel. All right, what we do want to make sure is that we have engaged it on both sides. I'm going to take my other bits with me. Yep, there we go. There is a bar going across, but it's always good to check. My isolator key is going to go in here where my mains cable was. All right, that means we can't use the motor mover while we're plugged into mains, basically, is the reason for that. Okay, now we've engaged the mover, we're in a position to remove our handbrake. What we mustn't be doing is removing our handbrake before we've engaged the mover. Otherwise, you're going to be playing catch my caravan if you're on any kind of a slope, all right? So that is being held now on the motor mover. I'm now going to turn my motor mover on by pressing the two green buttons. There we go. Then I'm going to flip this over and you'll see I've actually got the outline of a caravan on here. So that'll tell me if I press this one, that will take me forwards. There she goes. Excellent tool. You can be pretty pinpoint accurate with it. All right. It will almost turn on its own axis, but we do want to make sure that we're walking around the van while operating the motor mover, so that we're not running anybody over or hitting anything. But I can turn it from one way to the other, as you can see. Right, that is that. When we finish using the motor mover, first thing we do, put the handbrake on, okay, and that just keeps it in check before we remove anything else. I'm going to turn my handset off just by pressing one of the green buttons, okay, and I'm going to remove my isolation key from in here. Now I've done all that, I'm in a position to remove the rollers or disengage my motor mover, okay? So it's the opposite to putting it on. Again, we need the same tool. We put that the other way round, okay, and we're going to push the rollers off the wheel. Now that does go with a bit of a clunk. There we go. But it's not moving anywhere because I've got my handbrake on. Again, that's the important bit. And now we're ready to get ourselves onto the car and travel home. That's it for the Elegance here. I hope that's been useful and I hope you found that informative. And any questions, just give us a call. Many thanks.